What would you do if achieving your biggest dream meant losing the very thing that made that dream possible in the first place? Before we dive into this absolutely heartbreaking yet ultimately inspiring story that will completely change how you think about success, fame, and what really matters in life, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications because this channel brings you the most incredible true stories that will leave you speechless. And trust me when I say you need to watch this entire video because the ending will restore your faith in the human spirit in ways you never expected. Emma Louise Thompson was born with a voice that could make angels weep and demons repent, possessing the kind of natural talent that occurs maybe once in a generation. Her vocal cords seemingly crafted by divine hands to produce sounds so pure and powerful that even her childhood lullabies could move grown adults to tears. But her journey to stardom began in the most unlikely of places, a rundown trailer park in rural Kentucky, where dreams were considered luxuries that families like hers simply couldn't afford. Growing up as the youngest of 4 children in a family where her father worked double shifts at a coal mine just to keep food on the table and her mother cleaned houses for wealthy families in the next town over, Emma learned early that music wasn't just her passion but her escape from a reality filled with unpaid bills, broken appliances, and the constant stress of poverty that hung over their small home like a persistent storm cloud. Her voice was discovered quite by accident when she was 8 years old, singing along to a gospel song on an old radio while helping her mother hang laundry on a line behind their trailer. The sound so beautiful and unexpected that Mrs. Henderson from next door came running over to ask who was playing such magnificent music, only to discover that the voice belonged to the little girl with tangled hair and hand-me-down clothes who had been living right next to her for years. Word spread quickly through their small community about Emma's extraordinary gift, and before long she was singing at every church service, community gathering, and local event within a 50-mile radius, her reputation growing like ripples in a pond as people drove from neighboring towns just to hear the child with the voice that seems too big and too perfect for her tiny body. By the time she reached high school, Emma was performing at county fairs and regional competitions, winning every contest she entered and collecting trophies that lined the shelves of their cramped trailer, each one representing not just her talent, but her family's hope that maybe, just maybe, their daughter could sing her way out of the poverty that had defined their lives for generations. The scholarship to Nashville's prestigious Belmont University came when Emma was 17, a full ride that covered tuition, room, and board, offering her the chance to study music business and performance in the heart of country music's capital city, an opportunity that seemed like a miracle to a family who had never imagined their daughter could afford to attend college anywhere, let alone at one of the most respected music schools in the country. Nashville was overwhelming in every possible way. A city where every waitress was a singer, every barista was a songwriter, and every street corner seemed to echo with the dreams of thousands of young people who had come from small towns just like Emma's, all hoping to make it big in the music industry that had built its empire on turning raw talent into commercial gold. Emma threw herself into her studies with the kind of determination that only comes from knowing you might never get another chance, spending 18 hours a day either in classes, practicing in rehearsal rooms, or performing at the small venues around the city that served as proving grounds for aspiring artists, her voice growing stronger and more sophisticated with each passing month as she learned to blend her natural ability with professional technique and stage presence. The breakthrough came during her junior year when a talent scout from Mercury Records happened to be in the audience at a small club where Emma was performing as part of a student showcase, her rendition of a classic country ballad so moving and powerful that he immediately called his boss to set up a meeting, recognizing that he had just witnessed the kind of once-in-a-lifetime performance that could launch not just a career, but an entire musical movement. The recording contract offered more money than Emma's family had ever seen, a 6-figure advance that allowed her parents to move out of their trailer and into a real house for the first time in their lives, while Emma herself was whisked into the professional music machine that transforms talented individuals into branded entertainment products designed to generate maximum profit for record labels, radio stations, and streaming services. Her debut album was recorded over 6 months in state-of-the-art studios with the best producers, musicians, and sound engineers that money could buy. Each song carefully crafted to showcase Emma's incredible vocal range while appealing to the broadest possible audience. The result being a collection of tracks that perfectly balanced commercial appeal with artistic integrity, something that industry veterans said was nearly impossible to achieve with debut releases. The album's lead single climbed the charts like a rocket, reaching #1 on country radio within 8 weeks and crossing over to pop stations shortly after. Emma's voice becoming as familiar as sunshine to millions of listeners who couldn't get enough of the young woman who sang with the passion of someone who had lived through heartbreak and triumph, even though she was barely 21 years old and had experienced relatively little of either. Success in the music industry is intoxicating in ways that no other form of fame can match because it's so deeply personal. Your voice literally becomes the soundtrack to other people's lives, their weddings, their breakups, their road trips, and their quiet moments of reflection, creating connections between artist and audience that feel almost sacred. And Emma found herself overwhelmed by the responsibility and privilege of being the voice that people turned to when they needed to feel understood or comforted. The tours started small, opening for established acts in theaters and small arenas, but as Emma's popularity exploded, she graduated to headlining her own shows in increasingly larger venues, her concerts becoming events that sold out within minutes of tickets going on sale, fans traveling hundreds of miles just to hear her sing the songs that had become anthems for their own experiences of love, loss, hope, and resilience. The pressure to maintain that level of success was enormous. Record label executives pushing for more albums, more tours, more appearances, more everything. The music industry operating on the principle that if a little success is good, then maximum success must be the ultimate goal, regardless of the human cost to the artists that generate the profits that keep the entire system running. Emma's schedule became a blur of recording sessions, photo shoots, interviews, television appearances, and concert performances that kept her on the road for 10 months out of every year. Her voice being used as a tool of commerce in ways that gradually wore down not just her physical capabilities, but her emotional connection to the music that had once been her greatest source of joy and spiritual fulfillment. The first signs of trouble appeared during her third major tour, when Emma noticed that her voice felt different after particularly demanding shows, a hoarseness that didn't go away with rest, a scratchiness that seemed to be getting worse rather than better, symptoms that her management team dismissed as normal wear and tear that could be managed with better vocal warm-ups and more careful song selection during performances. But Emma knew her voice better than anyone, and she could feel something changing in ways that went beyond simple fatigue. Her vocal cords struggling to hit notes that had once come as naturally as breathing, her range gradually shrinking as certain frequencies became painful or impossible to produce, forcing her to modify songs and arrangements to accommodate limitations that seemed to appear overnight. The diagnosis came from Dr. Patricia Williams, one of Nashville's most respected vocal specialists, after extensive examinations revealed that Emma had developed vocal nodules, benign growths on her vocal cords caused by overuse and strain, a condition that affects many professional singers, but which in Emma's case had progressed to a severity that required immediate and aggressive treatment to prevent permanent damage to her voice. The recommended treatment plan included complete vocal rest for at least 3 months, followed by extensive speech therapy and gradual rehabilitation that could take up to a year, during which time Emma would be unable to perform, record, or even speak normally, effectively putting her career on hold at the exact moment when her star was burning brightest in the entertainment firmament. The decision to cancel her upcoming tour and postpone her next album was devastating. Not just financially, with millions of dollars in lost revenue and contractual penalties, but emotionally, as Emma watched her hard-won success slip away while she sat in silence, unable to even explain to her fans what was happening or when she might be able to return to the stage that had become her second home. The months of vocal rest were the most challenging period of Emma's life, forcing her to communicate through writing and gestures while dealing with the psychological impact of losing the one thing that had defined her identity since childhood. Her voice, not just her career, but her means of emotional expression, spiritual connection, and personal validation, leaving her feeling like she had lost a fundamental part of who she was as a human being. During this period of enforced silence, Emma began to explore other forms of creativity and self-expression, learning to play piano and guitar with a dedication that surprised even her, discovering that making music didn't always require vocals and that she had a natural talent for composition and arrangement that had been overshadowed by her extraordinary singing ability, opening up new possibilities for her artistic future that she had never considered before. The rehabilitation process was slow and frustrating, working with speech therapists and vocal coaches to gradually rebuild her voice from the ground up, learning new techniques for breath control, pitch placement, and vocal health that should have been part of her training from the beginning, but which the industry's focus on immediate commercial success had pushed aside in favor of maximizing her natural talent without regard for long-term sustainability. When Emma finally returned to performing after 18
months away from the spotlight, her voice had changed in fundamental ways, no longer possessing the effortless power and unlimited range that had made her famous, but instead carrying a more mature, nuanced quality that reflected both the physical changes to her vocal cords and the emotional growth she had experienced during her time away from the music industry's relentless demands. Her comeback album was a deeply personal exploration of loss, recovery, and self-discovery, featuring songs that she had written during her period of silence, compositions that dealt with themes of identity, vulnerability, and the courage required to rebuild yourself when everything you thought you knew about who you are has been stripped away. Creating music that was perhaps less commercially appealing, but infinitely more authentic and emotionally resonant than her earlier work. The new Emma Louise Thompson was someone who understood that true artistic success couldn't be measured solely in chart positions and record sales, but in the ability to create music that genuinely connects with people's experiences and emotions, using whatever voice you have, whether it's the one you were born with or the one you fought to reclaim after losing everything you thought defined your worth as both an artist and a human being. Critics and fans initially struggled to accept this changed version of their former superstar, some mourning the loss of her previous vocal power, while others embraced the deeper emotional authenticity that characterized her new work. But Emma had learned that external validation, while nice, couldn't be the foundation upon which she built her sense of self-worth or artistic purpose. She began working with other artists who had experienced similar challenges, sharing her knowledge about vocal health and the psychological aspects of recovering from career-threatening injuries, becoming an advocate for better industry practices that prioritize long-term artist welfare over short-term commercial profits, using her platform to educate young performers about the importance of taking care of their voices and their overall well-being. Her nonprofit organization, Voices for Voices, provides resources and support for singers dealing with vocal injuries, offering everything from medical referrals to financial assistance for artists who can't afford proper treatment, while also advocating for industry reforms that would prevent the kind of overuse and exploitation that had nearly ended Emma's career and continues to threaten countless other performers who prioritize their art over their health. Today, 15 years after that first diagnosis and a decade after her successful comeback, Emma performs on her own terms, choosing projects that inspire her rather than simply generate revenue. Her voice may not have the same superhuman qualities that made her initially famous, but it carries something arguably more valuable: the wisdom and authenticity that can only come from someone who has lost everything they thought they needed to be happy and then discovered that true fulfillment comes not from external success, but from using whatever gifts you have in whatever form they currently exist to make a positive impact on the world around you, proving that sometimes losing your voice is the only way to truly find your song, and that the most beautiful music often comes not from perfect instruments, but from broken ones that have been lovingly repaired and played with the knowledge that every note is precious because none of them are guaranteed to last forever.